All right. All right. Let's get in your Kool-Aid this morning. Welcome to Thursday Spiritual Matters here at the Daily Huddle. I'm your host, Dr. Monikah Ogando, and I'm twinning with Rashida. See, look at us wearing gold. Both of us are wearing gold. Hey. I have a quote for you today. We're talking about the magic of your relationships. And you are either in two camps when you hear the topic, the magic of your relationships. You are on the section of the church that says, amen, let's talk about relationships. Or you are on the section of the church where they're like, ouch, what we're going to talk about? Why are we talking about this? And I have a quote for you from Carl Jung. It's an oldie but a goodie. He says, the privilege of a lifetime is the honor of being yourself. And that is the magic of your relationships. Welcome to the Daily Huddle. Well, hello again. Welcome to the Daily Huddle. I am your host, Dr. Monikah Ogando. And let's get like, I want you to, in your mind's eye, if you don't have sleeves, if you have short sleeves or no sleeves at all, I want you to pretend. But if you have long sleeves like me, I want you to do this thing like where you're rolling them up, where you roll up your sleeves today, because we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about relationships and we're going to get deep and we're going to get into it. So roll up your sleeves. Giovanni's ready. Lizette is ready. All right, so let's get grounded. Let's make sure that we're all here and present moments. Okay, so Rashida, where are you and what are you thankful for?
Good morning. Good morning.
Morning.
I am right here. I am in Brooklyn at my sister and my niece's place. I am right here. And what I'm grateful for, to be able to travel freely with no bondage. And
Nice.
that's what I'm grateful for, to be free. Thank you.
Yes, of course. And Stan, what time is it? And who are you hugging today? Oh, he's working it out. No, can't hear you. Can't hear you.
You're muted.
The time was time for me to unmute.
There you go.
The time is now.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's what my watch says now. And I'm gonna hug my wife. Make sure I hug her today because I may not go out of the house to hug anyone else today. So I'm make sure I hug her well.
She gets the privilege. I love it.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you guys, I wanted to talk to you. You know, last summer we did a series for the summer. It's kind of like the Spiritual Matters Summer School. Do you like that S alliteration? Spiritual Matters Summer School. And we're going to do the same thing in this summer. We're going to do a 5-part series about the magic of certain things in your life that you would not think are magical, but I'm going to discover the magic with you in them. And then we're going to talk about some of the pieces of your life that are spiritual disciplines that, once again, you may not think are spiritual disciplines, but if you can find it there, you will find it anywhere. And so let's start this summer school series here at the Daily Huddle Spiritual Matters with the magic of your relationships. Now, you know that I am a big ambassador of checking your assumptions, and we're going to operate from the assumption. Listen to me well, because none of this will make sense unless you hear this. We are going to operate from the assumption that your relationships are a playground where you get to meet, celebrate, and heal yourself. Meet, celebrate, and heal yourself. Not the other person, That person's not here to celebrate and heal you. You are here to do this for yourself through the mirroring, the reflection, the projections, the triggers, the intimate connections, etc., that happen inside of a relationship. This is you versus you. And I have heard many times some people say, I wish this person were more like me in whatever, right? I wish that I had a me. And here's the thing about this amazing prism of the universe that we call life. All you are ever meeting is yourself. You may meet in another person parts of you that you don't like, that are unhealed, that are unprocessed, that you don't recognize, that you don't approve of, or whatever the case may be. And in as much as you have things in common and this person just does it for you and you're just so connected, those are the parts of you that you do recognize and that you do celebrate and that you do honor and that you do like. But then there are the pieces that you don't, and you're like, I don't know about you. Well, you mean you don't know about you? Because this person is a 1099 highly paid consultant hired by the universe to come help you in your integration and maturity journey. And you signed up for that. Nobody forced you. You said, you know what, I want to learn. I want to learn what it's like to be sovereign and self-reliant. And then somebody else says, okay, I'll help you do that. And I'm going to help you do that by being emotionally unavailable so that you become your own source of comfort. But you think that they're doing something to you versus helping you and supporting you in the spiritual maturity lesson that you signed up for. Now, you may have signed up for it at the soul level and you don't remember at the conscious level that you did that. You're like, who would ever sign up for that? Who would sign up for this level of abuse? Who would sign up for this level of negligence and abandonment and, passive aggressive communication and blah, blah, blah? You, smarty pants. Now, that only functions if you agree to explore the possibility. I'm not even asking you to agree to it. I'm asking you to agree to explore the possibility that perhaps you live in a lawful universe, and as above, so below, as within, so without, and therefore nothing can be in front of me that didn't come from within me, because my external world is a prism of my internal struggles. If you're willing to explore the possibility that that may be true, or that that may have some accuracy, then you're open to seeing how people that you are in relationship with, particularly the ones that you're triggered by or offended by or feel some type of way about, those are the ones with the deepest, strongest, most significant lessons for you. Let me give you an example. I'm going to put since I'm always talking about I'm going to get in your Kool-Aid, I'm going to let you get in my Kool-Aid. I have been married now for almost 12 years. And my husband and I, in many ways, are opposites of one another. Astrologically, I'm a Pisces, he's a Virgo. He was born in the projects in the Bronx. I was born in a well-to-do community in the Dominican Republic. He's, through and through American patriot, and I'm an immigrant, et cetera, et cetera. There are many ways in which we are diametrically opposed from one another. Emotionally, however, one of the things that I bristle at is that sometimes he shows up to me, sometimes to me, I'm not saying that he is this way, but that sometimes he shows up to me as extremely self-righteous and superior. Like if people would just do the things that I tell them to do or that I want them to do or how I view the world, this would just be a better place. Why can't you just align with, I'm right and you're wrong. And if you could just fix yourself, we could all be better. And I know somewhere in the back of your mind, you're like, I don't see the problem. Like, but the man's got a point. So, and our thing going back and forth, sometimes you have these arguments or these debates that will never be settled. Our thing going back and forth is Maybe just because that's the way you have it doesn't mean that that's the way that it is. There are other people that have different filters, that have different understanding, that have been exposed to different things, and they don't see things the way that you see them. It doesn't mean that they see them wrong. It's just a different perspective. And you have to be able to allow for other people having different perspectives. And perhaps they can teach you something. What? Right? And so we always have this back and forth on that, right? And I say to myself very cleverly before I challenge myself on my own assumptions, I say, I am not a self-righteous, positioned, superior person. I don't know what the man is teaching me by being like that. There's nothing in me that feels like I'm above other people. What? No, that's not me. That's not my mirror. Just hold it a minute. Because it may not necessarily be in the same domain. It may not be in the same way that you communicate, right? He communicates his superiority and his know-it-all very differently. And upon further inspection, I do hold it like I'm superior in certain places. I have it like I communicate better than most people. I have a greater command of words to being able to articulate how you feel, et cetera, et cetera. And if you don't know how to communicate your feeling, maybe you're not feeling that. And that is my little excuse to minimize other people's feelings. If you can't speak it, you're not really feeling it. So then I could just dismiss your feelings just because you don't have the proper word for it. When I found out that I was doing this, and cleverly too, like, because from the high mound of your high horse, you don't really see a lot. You don't get a lot of perspective. So when I saw that I was doing that, I was like, he is my mirror. He is showing up in a superior way that I wouldn't do, so that I would recognize it, so that it would be disgusting enough for me to take a look. Because if he were doing what I'm doing, I wouldn't see that as superior. I'd be like, yeah, you speak well, you communicate well. What's wrong with that? So I want you to just take this in for a second. Like, think of the person that triggers you, that challenges you, the one that you're like writing in your journal about, the one that you're seeking therapy for, the one that you go vent to your friends about. It's like, this one's at it again, right? That person. If that person, let's get into alternate universe for a second. If that person were actually not your biggest thorn on the side, but was actually your biggest secret weapon for your evolution, for your maturity, for your growth and your development and becoming a better, higher, more badass version of yourself, what would that person be teaching you? Or what would that person's way of being be inviting you to look at? Now, you don't have to confess it here, but this is something for you to be able to look at and to be able to explore and answer for yourself. For me, Eric, my husband, Eric's way of being was, and it hasn't changed, by the way. Let me just say that the purpose of figuring this out isn't so you can find out a clever way for them to not do that anymore. That's called manipulation, boys and girls. No, the purpose is so that you can meet yourself and understand why you have this thing in front of you. And then when you understand why you have this thing in front of you, you can be compassionate about it. Now you can be patient with it. Now you can be playful with it. Because now when he shows up in his morally superior thing, I sometimes just kind of like joke it off and laugh it off. Like, that's right, baby, that's right. Listen, I need you to write down all your moral codes so we can Xerox them and pass them out and put them on people's windshields, because these people don't know what they're doing. And if you could just get it down on paper, maybe we can make this world a better place. And he laughs at me. He's like, I don't know if you're serious or if you're mocking me, because that's an actually good idea. So I want you to think about this person that triggers you, that offends you, that wounds you. Maybe it's in the past. Maybe it was somebody that hurt you when you were a child, or maybe it's somebody that you're in a relationship with now. But whatever that is, and typically you get some juice out of recounting that wound or this difference that you have with this person. Think about it from the position of, this person's here to evolve me. And if that person were here to evolve me and grow me and make me into the better person version of myself that I already volunteered to be, what lesson would I be needing to integrate based on their presence in my life? So let's open it up so we can talk about it. I told you we're going to roll up our sleeves. That's the magic of our relationships. Because here's the other thing, that whatever is missing in that relationship is something that you have been refusing to bring. Oh, what do I mean by that? There have been times when I have wanted, for example, my husband to be more emotionally vulnerable. But I was doing that from a place of you first. You be emotionally vulnerable first, and then that'll create permission for me to be emotionally vulnerable. But I'm not moving till you move. When you move, I move, like that song says. Well, if it's not here, it's because you're not here. What you got to say about that, Giovanni?
This is fascinating conversation, and I feel compelled to say that it probably needs like a half a day of context in order for
Absolutely.
For me to actually confront the possibility of what you said. Well, I don't mean like confront it like something for me to fight against, but for actually appreciate the what you said. The all I ever meet is myself, right? And it is it's a profound possibility. It's a profound way of looking at everyone I meet and all these ways that people are in life, those who are close to me and those who I meet in my workshops, right? And I'm about to lead a 3-day course. It's almost like 80 people or so. And the possibility of seeing every person is myself, every person is myself, every person is myself, or they're showing up as a version, or whatever I see of them is a version of myself. It leaves me a lot to ponder, a lot to think about, like how do I grapple with that? How do I create something from there? And my entire life is about influence, right? For whatever it is, a greater good. And I'm not saying it's a greater good, but it certainly makes a difference. So the question is, so when I see my mother, my children, my significant others, just a kind of like a difficult way of being, like it's causing chaos. So then a position I'm seeing in this conversation is, well, what about the chaos they're creating is something that I do too, is what I'm hearing. And then, but in some degree, I heard also, and I don't know if you said that, I'm just checking, don't influence it, just be with it, let the chaos be. Don't insert leadership, if you will, in the chaos that sometimes people bring into our life. What do you think? Or what are you?
Well, it's not so much to not influence it, but to understand what it is that you're interacting with. That it's not somebody else's chaos. You call it chaos, therefore it's yours. So
well, I mean, like mother comes, yells at somebody, smacks somebody. I didn't just chaos. I witnessed it.
Sure. Okay. So you witnessed some level of physical violence,
or verbal abuse, or something, right?
Yes.
I can see in this conversation, I can see a possibility of no judgment. I do that, so I can see, or I'm capable of doing that, or I can see where that came from. I can see that, and what there is in me is to influence that, right? Or where it is that I am right now. I interrupt that, pivot that,
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying allow harm, right? I'm not saying like just go ahead and take your punches or let the other person get, harmed or whatever, so that you can figure out how this person is a projection of you. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying, because you could really just think about it, in a safe environment. You don't have to be in an abusive environment to get the lesson. So but what I am inviting people into, what I'm inviting you into is where do I do that? Or where have I experienced that before? Because sometimes the mirror isn't that I do it. The mirror is that it's been done to me before. So there might be a pattern mirror, right? A pattern of I do that, or the pattern of it continues to happen in my presence, for example. This may be a lesson in cowardice for you. How long do I let harm happen before I do something? You know, and it continues to happen. I continue to witness it, and do I act differently, et cetera, et cetera. So, you know, it's not like a hard and fast, this is the formula. You see A, therefore you be A. Sometimes it's a little bit more nuanced than that. Sometimes it's, I'm allowing abuse to happen in front of me and I don't do anything, or I ignore it, or I act like it's not a big deal, or I minimize it. And then I get surprised and resentful when people minimize me. And so, you know, it's up to you to decide if you're sitting with it long enough, you'll get it, because your internal wisdom has been talking all this time anyways. It's not like there's something for you to find. It's just something for you to be still enough to be able to hear, because it's always been there.
Say that again. It's so beautiful. Say that again. Always still here, because it's always been there.
Well, yes, like your internal wisdom. I think sometimes people think that there's somewhere to get to, right? That there's a wisdom to be able to find. And what I'm saying is there's nothing for you to find, because it's always been here. You just have to be quiet enough to hear it, to have it be revealed, to hear yourself, and to recognize the voice of your internal wisdom. It's not frenetic like your ego is. It's not fearful like your ego is. It doesn't sound that way, right? And if we have had experiences of like adults in our childhood who are not in a frenetic energy, who are like very certain, who are like your sense of safety, grandma, or maybe a babysitter or a favorite uncle or whatever, when they tell you to do something, they just tell you to do something. Turn here, move there. You know, there's like a certain level of like informality, but also certainty. And that's the same thing that happens with your inner voice. It's not judging you. It's just telling you to go. It's just telling you to move. It's just telling you to speak. It's just telling, you know, it's very simple instruction. And sometimes we ignore it, like, wait, was that spirit? Was that God? I don't know. Let me think. And I'm inviting you to see anything that's happening in front of you that you react to, because there's a lot of things that happen in front of you that you don't even notice. But the things that happen in front of you that you react to is for you to work with. And you already have all the tools that you need for that transformation.
That was so great. Everything that happens in front of you that you react to is something for you to go to work with. That's really cool.
Who else has something? Well, I'm telling you, this is quickly becoming. This is the cute little thing that I got, this little jumpsuit dress thing, and it's quickly becoming my favorite outfit. I may or may not wear it to lunch with you, Giovanni and Sorrel. We're supposed to meet it.
So while somebody else raises their hand, I'll continue. Is that okay?
Yes, of course.
And then you guys feel free to just raise your hand. Monikah, one of the things that I have, I have really taken on in my life, healing my relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And given the jerk that I have been, it's a long journey, mm-hmm. right? And what I certainly can't say, I can say for myself that most of my life where I have been a real jerk, I was trying to become a man. You know, I was trying to become a man. Like, I don't know what is a man at the time, but I was trying to be one, and influence through force. Mm-hmm. And man, that did not work.
Right.
That did not work, right? And so as I have taken on this path of growth and development, if you will, and go from relationship to relationship, the people that are in front of me, all I ever meet is myself. Mm-hmm. I can certainly see, man, that everyone I try to heal with, they're giving me back who I was for them. Yeah. I can certainly see it, man. And some of them, you know, they have something to say and they're going to tell me and I got to hear it, right? And then some of them are have real compassion. And so, and real forgiveness, and they're acknowledging me for this and that. Where, when, I'm reflecting as I'm talking, forgive me.
Sure.
In some degree, the possibility of this conversation is that I'm meeting both versions, different versions of people. Certainly, whatever I react to is something for me to work on, certainly. And so what I'm struggling is, I'm not sure if I'm meeting myself when I meet people, but it's certainly, if I get triggered with something, certainly something for me to work on, something for me to see. Anyway, that's what I'm getting from this conversation.
Yeah, that sounds really juicy. It sounds to me like if you are, for lack of a better term, making amends with someone for the jerk, I'm using your words, that you've been in the past, and they have some kind of negative reaction to it, like they try to shame you about it or try to tell you how bad it was and blah, blah, blah. That's your guilt coming back in front of you to say, you know, are you still that, right? That the guilt is kind of like, guilt seeks punishment. A Course in Miracles says guilt seeks punishment. And so many times when I feel guilty about something, I'm looking for somebody to punish me for something that I did or didn't do before, right? And then, the other part of it is the people who are like, oh, wow, thanks, you know, for acknowledging that and blah, 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 is the sense of, that's my validation seeking to be recognized. I want validation for the journey I've taken, for my maturity, for my evolution, et cetera, et cetera. And it's like, I'm getting both. I'm getting both what my guilt needs, which is to be punished and to be judged and to be shamed for what I did. And I'm getting what my validation needs, which is to be acknowledged for the ground I've taken.
They're both useful.
Yeah.
They're both certainly useful. Yeah. I want to continue, but I love this kind of conversations. I love Thursday. And but everyone who's listening, please feel free to raise your hand and
yeah, who else has something?
Yeah. I know Sorrel is driving, otherwise he'll be raising his hand.
he's recording it in his little note app.
Go ahead, Ron.
Yeah. Kind of got into telling the conversation, but one thing I'm getting out of this is I tend to connect, you know, I think I've said this before, I think to connect a lot of daily auto together. So that's where I get the most out of it. I realized, you know, a couple of weeks or probably last week, Tara talked about the 7 mechanisms of defensive, some defensive mechanism that we all, you know, create. And I think here you kind of hit on it, you know, by asking people, how do they see you, you know, in your quest for, you know, to better relationship with others. And I think, you know, that's where it's all boiled down to, is really when we can point those mechanisms that we are, you know, embody so well. And then, you know, suddenly we kind of find a way to really, you know, build over them and be able to really accept, you know, accept the people or accept what comes up in order to open up new space. So yeah, so that's what I'm getting out of this conversation. Like I said, I kind of really get into talent of it, but I'm working on really analyzing the 7 mechanisms of being defensive. And that's where I am.
Great. I like that you brought that up about the defensiveness, Ron, because typically when we go into just speaking into this mechanism of defensiveness, when we go into the defensiveness thing, is to one of three assumptions have to be made. let's talk about assumptions, right? One of three assumptions have to be made. One, that there's something at stake that you might lose. Because if there's nothing for you to lose, you don't get defensive, you actually get explorative. Two, that that your identity or something about your identity may be in danger. Like, for example, we get defensive when we think somebody else has misunderstood us. It's like, no, that's not what I meant, and that's not who I am, and and I need to explain, I need to justify, and I need to let you know, give you the information that you're missing, because if you had this information, you wouldn't make those misjudgments about me, that type of thing. And then the third thing is that it actually doesn't come from being misunderstood or that there's something at stake, which implies loss. It's from a place of superiority too, that it's like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. Right? And so it's a great place to sit and be with, like, what do I think is at stake such that this is my reaction? Before I speak, before I say anything, before I take any action, let me just check in with my come from. Because if you choose a different come from, you get a different outcome. So this was juicy. Thank you, Giovanni and Rob, for your contributions. Thank you for playing with me in this conversation. Yes, it is. It could be a week-long retreat. It could be 2 weeks in Egypt if you really want to know about it. So thank you so much for being with us today. Remember to love generously, laugh loud, give of yourself, your time, energy, attention, eat more plant-based food, stress less, move more, sleep at least 7 hours, and of course, check yourself before you wreck yourself. Always audit your assumptions. Thanks again. Talk to you soon.
One love, guys. One love.
Love.
Thank you. Excellent job.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you.
Bye.
Blessings, family.
Love you all. Love you all.
Love.